This screen demo shows two additional functions, which was not included in the previous demo, introducing the grid system of Visual FEA. One of the new additions is the capability of automatic turning on and off the grid, depending on the context of actions. The other is about setting transparency levels of the grid planes, that is, opaque, translucent, and transparent modes. The grid is turned on, if it is needed, in such cases as creating lines, circles, ellipses or curves. The grid is automatically turned on by the tool buttons, enclosed by the red lines. The coordinates of points can be easily inputted, using the grid system. For example, a spline curve is created, by inputting the coordinates of 4, or more points, using the grid. The grid is turned off automatically, if it is not needed, as in the case of selecting an object. Let's select the curve, and divide it into 20 segments. The grid is turned off by the tool buttons, enclosed by the blue lines. Clicking the straight line or circular arc tool, restores the grid again. The grid is turned on or off, also by the context of a menu function. For example, let's start the function, generating surface mesh, by a revolution algorithm. The first step of the function is to select the seed curve for revolution. Thus, the curve selection tool is automatically activated, and the grid is turned off, as it is not used for selecting the curve. Select the curve by clicking it, and press Set Curve button. The next step is to define the axis of revolution. Thus, the straight line tool is automatically activated, for defining the axis of revolution. And consequently, the grid is turned on, as it is used in inputting the two end points of the axis. Press Set Axis button. A new surface mesh is generated. The curve selection tool is activated again, for the next mesh generation, and accordingly, the grid is turned off. Finish the surface mesh generation function by closing the dialog. Then, the circular arc tool is pressed automatically, and the grid is turned on. Why circular arc tool? It is because the circular arc tool was on before starting the mesh generation function. Automatic grid turning on/off was demonstrated so far. The next demo will illustrate the transparency levels of grid planes. Let's change the view direction, to get better view of the grid planes, displayed respectively with 3 different transparency levels, that is, opaque, translucent and transparent. The default setting is the translucent level, which implies semi-transparency. The translucency of the grid planes makes the mesh image, dimmed partially in gray color. Press the Grid Movement tool button, to change the positions of the grid planes. And move the grid planes. Move the XY plane forward and backward. Move the YZ plane. And move the ZX plane. As demonstrated by this demo, the front and back relationship of the model is made distinguishable by the translucency of the grid planes. Let's try another level of transparency. Choose Grid Setting item from View menu. Grid Setting dialog appears. There are 3 radio buttons: opaque, translucent, and transparent. Click Transparent radio button. Click OK button. Then, the grid planes are rendered as transparent objects. No parts of the mesh are dimmed in gray color, due to perfect transparency of the grid planes. Lastly, change the grid setting to 0 transparency level, that is, opaque option. The parts behind the grid planes are completely blocked from display, due to the opacity of the planes. Choose Shaded Image item, from Render menu, in order to display the model in shaded image. The shaded image shows that the model is partially hidden behind the grid planes. Change the grid setting to translucent option again. Then, the shading image is also dimmed, partially, by the translucency of the grid planes. This is the end of the screen demo, introducing automatic turning on or off the grid planes, and 3 transparency levels of the grid planes.